We talked a lot about the subject of diversity in previous channel chats, and you have been quite vocal about the benefits of having a neurodiverse workforce. Can you expand on what you actually mean by that? What does neurodiverse workforce mean?
Sure. So I'm dyslexic myself, sort of mildly, but for every dyslexic person, their dyslexia sort of traits are different, so you can't really generalize. For example, I actually consider myself quite a good writer. People often say you can't read and write, but I definitely love to read, and maybe not novels, but things that with a purpose I love to read, and I hugely love writing. But I would say that dyslexic people and other neurodiverse people with ADHD, or it could be Asperger's, or there's many neurodiversities actually. And I would say that what distinguishes them is their brain is wired differently. And it took me, I wasn't diagnosed as a child or at school. It was when I later on in life went to do an Open University MBA. And the things that you have to regurgitate are sort of the names of these gurus, and half of them are German, and goodness knows how their names are like 21 letters long. And I was thinking, oh my God, if I lose marks because I can't spell the names of these guys, that would be a tragedy not to get my MBA. So I had a hunch that both my parents are dyslexic. So I had a hunch I probably was. And in fact, early on in my career, I had wanted to be an air traffic controller. I've got an air traffic control qualification actually. And I was applying to the CAA, and they said, oh, don't worry, you passed all of the tests, all of the aptitude tests and the interviews, but you've just failed this test that we've just introduced, which is telling your left from your right. And
brilliant.
So there wasn't any space on the application form to say, do you have dyslexia, or do you have challenges of telling your left and right? The thing is, you have to know is that I am actually married to an airline pilot, and I was with that same sort of pilot friend at the time. And I sat there and I thought, wow, yeah, this isn't about my career anymore. This might be life or death. Like if you're telling an aircraft to heading sort of 90 degrees, but you don't tell it whether it's left or right, that could be...
It's a problem.
Yeah, that could be a problem. And I know if you only have to be in the car with me 5 minutes, and you'll know I definitely can't tell my left from right. So I thought, you know what, maybe this isn't the career for me. And I had already fallen into the tech sector by then, and I loved it. So I just sort of parked the air traffic control thing. But for me, I didn't realize until later on in life that people actually, I assumed everyone thought like me. Their brain was like me. And like I walk down the street and have 1,000 ideas by the time I've walked 100 yards. And imagine what it's like working with me. There's even an expression, you've been Carlene, because I've got so many ideas if you come to a meeting with me. But it's, I think my brain is sort of wired where I think very visually. I always think in pictures. And there are definitely things that I really struggle with. For me personally, it's face and name amnesia, which in our world of conferences and meetings it's like waking up and realizing you've got dementia. It's like horrific to sort of not have that sort of ready to hand sort of memory of the conversation you had, or the person or the face or whatever. That's when you're stood in a conference situation or meeting situation without all your notes or whatever, which I really depend on a lot as reminder cues. But there are many strengths that actually massively they make up for sort of the dyslexic traits. For example, I wouldn't be surprised if over 50% of entrepreneurs are dyslexic, for example, because they are able to spot trends. They're able to look at the big picture. They can look at the detail, but they can see the sort of the bigger picture, looking at opportunity to solve business problems in maybe different out of the box ways. Having high degrees of empathy is quite important, I guess, when you're running a business, and high levels of intuition. And so for me, all of those superpowers, as I look at them, are a huge gift in being an entrepreneur and for anyone in running a business, because I think it's important to keep innovating as a business, to sort of think about how to do things differently. And if you've got, for example, Asperger's, I've worked with quite a lot in the tech sector, their superpowers are very different from dyslexics, but they make phenomenally loyal employees. They're highly unlikely to be up and out the door. leaving, they're just very committed to their work and They're typically, their IQ is off the scale. I think that they make fantastic employees to get like coding done or any IT work.
Do you think there's discrimination against that? Because as you were speaking, my son's got ADHD. I can't spell very well, and I have to get Anthony to do all my posts and on LinkedIn because I just put 2 words in at the same time. And most people, when I write emails, they obviously think I'm either drunk or something, because I put words back to front and I'm quite quick. I see it as a bit of a superpower, not spelling, but I think I've got other traits that sort of compensate for that. But do you think there's a shame in admitting that, or a discrimination that people don't want to sort of say they've got those challenges because they think they're going to be either persecuted or they're not going to get the job because of it? No, I joke with my staff all the time. No one's going to employ me. I can't write. I can't spell.
Yeah, we're unemployable, aren't we?
No one's going to give me a job. But I do think actually those people who've got those characters have got superpowers. But do you think there's a bit of shame in sort of admitting that sort of stuff and discrimination against it?
I think I'm sure that a lot of people haven't had a diagnosis but they have a hunch.
Yeah.
And their hunches maybe sort of voices from the past of when they were at school, they didn't perform. Often dyslexics are often the class clown, popular sort of mess about to try and almost disguise the fact that they're not necessarily they haven't got the best grades. They might actually even be the smartest, and the teachers can often see that, and they're just like, just the class clown. Why are you not like crack on with your work? But I do think there is a lot of people who feel that they have to work very hard to keep up with where they are. And I think that's a common thing with neurodiverse people. So they're often very hard grafters. They want to they have this voice in their head, which is you're not good enough or you're stupid or whatever, just because of their schooling. The schooling system hasn't served them well. Even if they weren't diagnosed, they probably have this negative culture around them that they weren't performing well enough, and they just have this internal motor that drives them to sort of perform. But I think that I personally think that I would highly recommend anyone who has any sort of sense of, maybe because of your parents are dyslexic, or maybe your kids have neurodiversities, apples don't fall far from the trees, they say. So start to because I think it gives you the opportunity to not focus on the negatives, although you could probably understand that actually, do you know what, maybe I am too ambitious with my expectation of how quickly it's going to be achieved, and I probably need to now that I know that I have ADHD or I have dyslexia, that actually I probably need to be more conservative in what I commit to, because I can't take it on, because I'm probably going to drop some plate somewhere.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important to be aware of that, because I think for me it's you need to building a high performing team, or working, if you're an entrepreneur and you get to work with other people, knowing what your weak spots are, your blind spots and your weak spots, as well as knowing what you're looking out for. What are my superpowers? Because I didn't know that they were superpowers until I realized that actually other people were different from me. They didn't see what I saw. They couldn't easily join the dots of trends. They couldn't see the bigger picture. They couldn't go into a client meeting and very quickly, which is helpful in sales situation, understand a business and its challenges and where it needed to go. They couldn't do that. And they didn't have a vision for what something could be. And I've soon learned that actually that was a gift of uniqueness that I really needed to leverage, and it helped me in my career, focusing on where I could add the most value.
As a small growing business, you talked about SMEs, and I mentioned to you at lunch around my views on marketing in the IT channel. Some recently, I think me and Anthony went actually to the HP event, which they did a festival, which I thought was great, something different, something marketing to their partners, etc. What's your view on marketing in 2022? Because I'm seeing a lot of people try sort of doing the email marketing and sell this at this discount, or we can do this, etc., etc. But what's your view? Do you think it's changed? Do you think it needs to change? And how do you market for your business? A lot of questions there, but just on your view on it.
I love marketing. Yeah, I think I would. I think marketing is one of my favorite areas. I think that for me, if I thought of marketing as a picture, I would think of it as first of all a funnel. And at the very top of the funnel, I would put the word brand and awareness. And I think there's a lot of things that we do, whether it's sitting here now, having a chat on a podcast, or on a stage doing a speaking event, or other things that we do, getting out there, whether it's sponsorship of charity or whatever, it's all a brand work awareness. And a lot of marketeers probably overlook the importance of that because it's got a long tail and it's long term. And actually, I personally do think it's really important. And I also like the idea of what I call a personal brand. So that's could be your employees or a business owner having a voice and being a person that's front of house in the business, because people don't buy businesses, they buy people. And so I do believe that's really important. So the next stage of the funnel is really, in a way, you might call what are the more traditional marketing activities, such as running sort of email campaigns. Nobody does advertising these days, but if you did, it would probably sit in there. But I do think that content as well, the generation of content, whether it's definitely more digital stuff these days, videos, they say YouTube is the second Google. So making sure that there's relevant content, but not about product, but about what is interesting for your customers. What is it that they're interested in? So at the minute, I suspect, I haven't Googled it, but I imagine that, oh my goodness, what do I do in a recession? That's probably quite current in people's mind. How do I run or start a business in a recession? And those are sort of front of mind questions. So think about what are the things that are on top of the mind of your target audience and how can you help them, but don't think of it from a product perspective, but from what's the thought leadership that you could offer. So that's the middle bit of the funnel. And then for me, the sort of near the bottom end would be, what we do a lot of is what we call partner to partner, P2P. And so that's where you work alongside other businesses to find customers. And the thing about being near the bottom of the funnel is there's less time for it to close. There's a very good chance if it's a referral that they are more likely to go, well, I imagine if you were doing some work on your house and you had a carpenter and you said, I really need a plumber. And they said, well, my mate's a plumber. You're not going to go and get 3 quotes. You're probably going to go, thanks for that. I'll work with your plumber. And that's how it works in the P2P world, that the conversion of opportunities is fantastic. And there's a win-win. The partner gets commission for things that they couldn't have done. The client's really happy because they get an expert who just knows that bit, not just the sort of office. The partner might be doing, say, Azure Security or Office 365, but they don't know anything about business solutions and Dynamics and CRM, which to them is totally new. So it means that we get fantastic quality sort of leads, and they get the opportunity to work alongside us to gain more skills. So hopefully in the future that grows their business. But that's been really good. But also marketeer's role is also, and I didn't probably realize this till recent years, there's a lot that your business does to convert opportunities. So it's not just about having the lead. What are you doing to convert the opportunity, but to also create more revenue down the line? There's a lot that marketing do, whether it's your brand, whether it's the professionalism of the materials that you have, the process, the experience that's designed for during the product being delivered. There's a lot that needs to be done that just doesn't generate tangible leads. That's obvious and measurable, but it's a hugely important role for the business. Even the quality of your videos and other assets that help guide customers. And I would say, I saw a look on somebody's face when I said this recently. He looked very worried, but I do genuinely believe it. I think your marketing team needs to be bigger than your sales team.
Ooh,
yeah.
Carlene, that's a big quote. We're a sales business here. Come on.
Yeah, and the reason why is because you need to be. I want it so that the sales guys are the order takers, and the customers are knocking on the door going. Imagine if they were in the market if you were selling garden rooms, for example. You want it so that the salesperson doesn't have to sit there and sell all the reasons why your garden room is the best garden room. You want the customer to go, I've watched all your videos, your client testimonials. I've heard about you on here, and here. I know you're the market leader. I want to work with you. Where do I sign and when can I start? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Would be amazing.
Yeah.